help people. But
Yeah.
these are the tools we're given. This is what we're taught. And you get into medical school and you're just there and you're just getting flooded with information and you're just trying to, stay
Yeah.
afloat, because there's nothing like truly complex about medicine. It's all straightforward stuff. It's not like crazy, like, oh my God, I just can't get my head around what a liver is. It's like you can get into the minutiae of the biochemistry and all that sort of stuff. But, and typically in the practical realms of things and what you need to know, it's not complicated. There's just a lot of it. There's a ton of it. And so you're just trying to stay afloat and you have to be apprised of all this information and how to apply it in a practical setting. So there's a complexity in that regard. But, you don't know. You don't know what it's like to be a doctor. You don't know if this is the best way or if there's better alternatives. We just know that, in this medical system that this is what we're being taught. And so it's not until you sort of get into it and you sort of see this other world, the other side of it, and you're like, well, wait, hold on a second. There's a bit more here. But a lot of doctors, like the functional medicine doctors you're talking about, they're the ones who've seen that. And there's like, wait, well, actually, there's more here. We don't have to just, patch up the boat with drugs and things like that. We could fix the boat. We could actually, do something proper. And so most people have that mentality. And when they see this, as Dr. Gary Fettke said, once you see this, you can't unsee it. Once you see, the benefits of therapeutic carbohydrate restriction for someone with diabetes that needs to get their foot amputated, and now they don't, you can't unknow that. And then you go into the next situation where someone has a diabetic foot or something like that, and you just go, hey, look, I know something that can work for this. You don't have to just accept this fate and start getting, body parts cut off, which is a horrible, horrible thing to have to do and go through as a patient. But even for a doctor, Gary Fettke was talking about how it's just awful it was. You're taking off a foot or leg, and you just hear this funk of like a human body part chunking into a trash can that you have underneath it. It's just like chilling. It's
No,
just an
it
awful
is.
thing.
And that's why I do like some of my doctor clients and colleagues
Mm,
that, hey, you know what, for a very serious infection or condition, or especially if it's very inflammatory, if you considered medical grade hyperbaric oxygen therapy, I will write you a
mm,
prescription, but your insurance will probably not cover it, but it's probably worth saving your life. And that's what I did
mm.
when I had some skin infections right after, or like skin ulcerations right after the intestinal surgeries. So
Surgeries, yeah.
yeah, I think I told you I developed like a very like one of the most rare
Mm,
skin conditions from so much inflammation that they considered
mm,
it cancerous, but it's called pyoderma gangrenosum. So derma, skin, and then gangrenosum, like, and you think of
mm.
people think of gangrene where you're getting these ulcerations on your body and it starts, start off as a bruise, and then all of a sudden you could put your fingers inside your body and touch your bones, and it gets that
Jeez.
bad.
Oh
Uh,
God. Don't do
yeah,
that.
so that's why medical
Please
grade
don't do
hyperbaric
that.
oxygen. Yeah, but you know what? It's kind of interesting that you're mentioning diabetic ulceration. So, with that's the main, like a huge proponent of amputations for a lot of diabetic patients, right? Is they're developing. It's not only just getting bad blood flow; it's just, yeah, you're developing really bad kind of like circulation, and you're getting very inflamed and infected limbs, and that's where you like see like, yeah, you gotta cut it off. I mean, if that infection kind of spreads over, you're going to have like the worst sepsis possible. So yeah, I actually met a lot of people who were actually able to avoid amputation, even though they already had it pre-scheduled because they did medical grade hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So I think a lot of functional medicine really needs to be investigated too. I don't consider a lot of things that come out of functional medicine anything part of pharmaceuticals. Like, I'm a huge proponent of peptides. So a
Mm,
lot of my clients over here, functional doctors, they promote peptide therapy. I'm sure you're familiar with, like, Joe Rogan speaks out of it because he's a big fan of it
mhm.
too. Is like, BPC 157. It's just like, a combination of amino acids. When you put them in a certain kind of combination, it can like substantially reduce your inflammation, gut and systemic.
Mhm.
There's other things for like joints and basically, thymosin beta. I mean, people are kind of prone to more infections despite the diet. I mean, they can consider thymosin alpha 1 because that's helpful to stabilize their immune system. You have LL37. And I actually started looking into more of the nootropics too. So, got like studies from Solank and CMAX that have been shown to basically, reverse some vascular, some really bad aspects of vascular dementia. They can actually start regaining their memory again. Hey, because I don't like the fact that a judge told me yesterday at mediation. I've known her for a long time, but I had a 10-hour mediation yesterday when I came back to LA. It was a long thing. And as you said, we're talking about dementia. So my case was um, the person that had a $10 million estate developed dementia like in 2023. It was 2022 and it worsened. It became like, accelerated dementia, severe dementia in 2023. And at that time, he executed all these documents to transfer everything to his new wife. But, we try to explain that, oh, he was fine. He knew what he was doing. I'm like, no, but the judge's like, no, if you have dementia, it only gets worse, which is it is somewhat true, but it really depends on how you address it, though, too.
Hmm.
And I think that is a huge kind of like cognitive component of the ketogenic diet, too, and a carnivore diet, essentially, is
Hmm.
to, yeah, I've realized that I've been so much more functional. I mean, I'm a freaking, if you look at my college background, you're going to think I'm a party holic, but if you look at everything from this day, you're like, you're a
After that,
nerd.
yeah.
Yeah, but no, I still exercise every week, and I just don't eat a lot of bullshit. I have slipped on a little bit more tequila than I wanted to every couple of weeks. It's go to a function, you have a couple of shots. So I'm trying to address that because I do think alcohol is poison. I'm not going to stick up for anyway.
Hmm.
But no, I think people need to recognize that diet can probably improve our test scores for our children. Did everybody
Hmm.
think of that? I mean,
Sure.
is the Department of Education doing shit since the 1970s? Right? No, it's kind of been plummeted ever since Jimmy Carter. So I'm
Hmm.
so glad we kind of got rid of that. But no, we need to address like a lot of the benefits that you can get. And people need to realize that we should all address metabolic health. Food is medicine, and you
Hmm.
won't need a lot of these pharmaceuticals. I think that should really be focused and expanded in not only the medical institutions and every kind of hospital that kind of arranging it for any kind of nurse practitioner or anything, but also put it with the AND, put the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, because they would be a subject defendant on a class action lawsuit that I may be taking. So I'm
Hmm.
trying to collect a little bit more support. I can't find any other attorneys. I can't find a few, but a lot of them that don't want to take down the big medical institutions because they support them. Maybe it's because I was born and raised in LA County, and it's a very liberal state. So these are the ones that are driving around with a mask on by themselves in their cars, and they're still doing it. 4 years later, there's like I said, they're probably sleeping with their condoms on. It's those kind of people that I need to get a better team to get with me. I know I already have a good amount of functional doctors that want to do a class action lawsuit. I'll do this during my campaign. I don't give a shit. I'm more than positive I can handle it. So yeah, because I think there needs to be a focus on, okay, why is the Medical Board of California and all these other states teaching this, and what is your affiliations with them, with these pharmaceutical companies? And well, we're going to be restricting some of their funding, and we want to change some of your curriculum, but they're not going to want to do that. And I think there is some kind of really sinister behavior with that. So I think that needs to be addressed, and
Hmm.
we we need to make changes across the board. I really want to save our farmers. When I came
Hmm.
back from Budapest to the United States in 2018, Dr. Sophia Clemens, who I'm still speaking with, she was talking about putting me as a case study in her new book. She's like, we talked, the first thing that she did is like, hey, if you're going back to the United States, here's a list of farmers that we recommend for you to buy your meat from. And one of
Oh,
those
cool.
was you. Yeah, no, I was so kind of intrigued. I was like, look, you got someone from Hungary telling you which meat
Hmm.
farmers to buy from when you go to the United States that they kind of work
Yeah.
with. What was U.S. Wellness Meats? They're known as I think they're based out of Missouri, and getting a like bulk amount of tallow from them because it was hard to find tallow at a lot of grocery stores. And actually, I think they took out tallow during the lockdown. I'm not sure if you remember that. They took
Wait,
out they stopped selling tallow at Whole Foods and Sprouts for like 2 to 3 months.
what?
Yeah, they said it's
That's
back ordered, but
bizarre.
they said they're trying to put restrictions, and this is when you had the meat shortages. They put
Mm.
restrictions on basically the production of meat in farms.
Mm.
That's what I think needs to be addressed in my campaign as well.
Hey guys, just want to take a second to thank our sponsor, Carnivore Bar. I don't promote many products because honestly, all you need to be healthy is to just eat meat. For those times that you're out hiking, road tripping, or stuck at work and you want a nutritious snack that is just meat, fat, and salt if you want it, the Carnivore Bar is a great option. So I like this product not because it's just pure meat, but also because I want the carnivore market to thrive as well. And the more we support meat-only products, the more meat-only products there will be available in the mainstream. So if this sounds like something you'd like to get behind, check it out using my discount code Anthony to get 10% off, which also applies to subscriptions, giving you 25% off total. All right, thanks guys.
We need to save the people that put real food on our tables. All right, we need to
Yeah.
save the farmers. This is why I'm a huge. When I met Congressman Tom Massey and at DC inauguration at the Maha Ball, I'm going to follow up, so I may go visit him in Kentucky. But I just remember that he made. That's why I've already known of him before I even got there, is because he's one of the few politicians that's speaking out to save our farmers. He was like the first thing he said on stage is like, hey, how many of you guys like real raw milk? And I was like, so
Hmm.
you would never hear like any politician say that before that. And I was
Yeah.
so impressed. So I had a good time meeting him. But yeah, I think we need a balance. I think we need to change a lot of the curriculum in medical schools, but also, across the board. I think there needs to be a new way we address health problems. That's going to be a huge thing. I think we need to put a lot of limitations on Pfizer. I don't think all pharmaceuticals are completely bad. There are some that have a little bit more efficacy just based on the
Hmm.
years of research that it could be promoted, and they're a lot simpler and they don't have so many damaging side effects. But that should be addressed. And I also want to basically make sure that all the funding that we're going through, and hopefully the DOGE keeps finding some more interesting things, like the
Hmm.
$50 million of condoms that we sent to Gaza. I don't know the purpose of that, but it is. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's another thing that came up too. But I think there needs to be funds spent on the proper areas, and I think we need more people to be outspoken on that. So that's what I really want to make on my campaign. I was fortunate to meet with Dr. Kiltz a few weeks ago because I know I think you did a podcast with him like right before I met him, by the way, too.
Oh,
But yeah, so I told him that since I'm mainly running in Las Vegas because I'm a dual resident, I have the time I'm spending most of my time in Vegas recently, and is I want to host one of the largest meetups, but
mhm.
I don't want to restrict it to the carnivore community. That's going to be the main thing. It's a meetup, MEEAT. Okay. So I sent you the flyer. I think it's on my campaign website now too. We have a separate page on that too for the meetup. We're expecting a huge crowd, and I'm working with a bunch of farmers. I want to get a bulk amount of meat. Buying 400
Mhm.
pounds of meat is going to be very expensive. I'm not sure if you've ever done that before, but it's especially if you're buying quality meat too, because you're trying to promote
Yeah.
the farmers.
Mhm.
So I'm using my life savings for this campaign, as you can see. But
Yeah,
anybody
well,
that promotes and fundraises the campaign, it's just going to go back to them because I want to make this event primarily for the carnivores. But I'm also extending it out to the ketogenic community as well as the functional health community and everybody that just wants to make America healthy again. So that's why I started working with hyperbaric oxygen clinics over in Las Vegas. The one that I've been recently going to that I do is, especially when I had like to go from California, drive to Vegas, fly to Austin, Texas to meet with Dr. Kiltz, is do there 2 days, and then fly back to Vegas and then drive back to LA at midnight. You can see I can like really wear you down, right? So I'm beating myself up, but I'm including hyperbaric oxygen therapy every week, and I go to Desert Moon Wellness, and I like them because that's where all the UFC fighters go too. So you get to see like the
yeah.
Hall of Fame basically on all the UFC fighters that go there. It's like, right, like you'd be amazed, but there's almost all the UFC is like going to this like clinic and treated. But when you think about it, how hard they train, yeah, they're gonna get
Mhm.
inflamed, they regenerate faster. That's the best thing about hyperbaric oxygen therapy. It's oxygen. It's not like you're injecting anything. You're getting a very amount of like pressure in a controlled in a closed environment. But yeah,
Mhm.
I've been benefiting that red light therapy. Yeah, and I think there should be more research on peptide therapy because peptide therapy and stem cells, I think should be investigated a little bit more. I know the FDA is putting a lot of restrictions on that, but one of our mutual colleagues, Dr. Sabrina Solt from
Mhm.
Arizona. So I told you right before I went skydiving the first week of this year, she I think a couple months before, right before the new year, I saw her and I said, hey. I've been traveling back and forth. My tailbone, I fractured this before. It's just a sensitive
Mhm.
thing. If you ever had like a fractured tailbone and if it gets inflamed, it's a pain in the ass, literally, right? So it was hard to fly and I was getting the back was tightening out as a result. But yeah, she actually took out my bone, but I didn't have enough fat on me, even if
Mhm.
so she's like, look at you. You don't have enough fat. You have to have like a stick of butter on your back, basically. You have to grab it and it has to be a stick of butter. That's how much fat or adipose you need for an adipose derived stem cells. Okay, so the main
Mhm.
two stem cells from your own body is from adipose or your bone marrow, which is part of your pelvis. I was so impressed. I got to promote her because look at been through a lot of painful experience in my life. Even though I built a bit in Pentatons, I know if something's going to be painful, but I didn't feel anything. It was perfect. She drilled a
Mhm.
huge plunger right into my pelvis, sucked out all the bone marrow, and put it through a centrifuge, kind of concentrated to get the stem cells extracted. And then she injected it right in, like next to my tailbone and along
Mhm.
my L4, L5. I felt
Mhm.
fucking amazing. Not only did I go sky diving right afterwards, I think I did that a little too soon, but I didn't feel anything when I landed. Because usually, even when you brace 10 feet before you land, because I used to do a lot of skydiving, you always feel that kind of impact on your hips and your joints and everything right when you land, especially if you have to like, turn a ball. But I didn't feel anything. I was like, holy shit, I think there should be a little bit more focus on functional medicine. So I do promote Dr. Schultz too. I told her, I was like, look at, you know what, I don't let needles anywhere near my ass, but it's only going to be you if in the future. So it's all right. Her husband,
Yeah,
like, but it's all right. She does
that's
good work,
funny.
and that's why I think the carnivore community is very interesting because I think with niche expansive, we should have people from like every kind of like every different industry that has the carnivore community. Like we should get more veterinarians involved in the
Mhm.
carnivore. So what are you going to feed your
There
pets,
are.
right?
Yeah.
I told you I
Yeah.
feed my French bulldog, Remy. He loves raw beef. So and
Yeah.
he's thriving. His gut and his bowel movements are like so much better. He's not getting any
Mhm.
itchy rashes. So yeah, I think there should be a really huge focus on the health moving forward. I'm really hoping we can do that, and I really want everybody to go to, and including you if you can make it. You'll get a
Mhm.
special. It'll be a special guest speaker if you can make it. But yeah, it's going to be July 19th, and Dr. Hiltz is actually helping me promote it because he asked me to host it, and he's going to be one of the co-promoters basically. So we'll see
Yeah.
him in a couple.
Yeah. Well, if I'm around, then yeah, I'd love to, and definitely help promote it as well. Um, Chris, I know that you have another meeting coming up in a few minutes,
10 minutes.
but
That's okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
we touched on a few things about the different things that you wanted to affect when you went into Congress. But just to sort of get that in one place, what are the things that you're hoping to achieve by running for Congress?
Running for Congress, I think there's a lot of voices that need to be heard at
Mhm.
higher levels. And I addressed this at your, was it KetoCon or what was the one that you had in Texas last year? You spoke with Bella, Dr. Kills,
Oh,
Baker.
that's
Oh, Keto Your Health
Hack
or
Your
something?
Health.
Hack Your Health,
Hack Your
right?
Health.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I actually posed a question. I don't think if you remember, but I think like a couple people answered, but I don't, you didn't address the question, but I think a couple other people addressed it. But I asked like, how do you think we can improve the health basically by, if we try to do this at a congressional level, like how can we, and then we're like, oh, just word of mouth. And that was the only thing, like, tell this was, I'm like, yeah, but the, the people need to recognize, and this is what my strong belief is that the people at the congressional levels have so much more power and influence over the people,
Hmm.
especially because you're going to be, you're going to be looking at people that are running your country on telling you what to do. And I think there needs to be a little bit more promotion at that level. And if I'm telling that
Hmm.
everybody that we need to readdress, our public health at a national level, and also addressing some of the, the balance of our equities and putting our money where it should be going to not only kind of health, but proper forms of education. And also, I think a lot of people, I really want a lot more subsidies to American meat farmers. These are
Hmm.
people that put real food on your tables. And I met with these meat farmers. They're going to be at Meat Stock with me in Tennessee in May. But yeah, I think they should be a lot more focused, and I think there should be more government grants going over
Hmm.
to them, basically to, hey, you're putting, because I like the fact that gas prices are going down a little bit, but have you seen the prices of meat in the last like 4 years
Hmm.
skyrocket? It was just amazing. I
Way
think
up.
we need to make it more affordable because that should be the primary thing on everybody's plate. So that's going to
Yeah.
be one of my huge components. And then my other thing is my concern with schooling. So I can't make this too political, but they're installing my nephew with a
Mm.
brother that I really respect. We found out that they're installing tampon machines in the boys' restrooms, and these kids are like 10 or 11 years old.
Mm.
So I think that is a very moral issue, and I didn't like the fact that not only try to take him, but they're trying to take a lot of my friends' kids over in Long Beach Unified.
Mm.
They're taking kids to drag shows without the parent consent, and I'm really worried about the mental health of our kids. So, in addition to addressing their physical health, I think their mental health needs to be addressed too. I think we need to have good, true traditional values.
Mm.
And I think that should be a huge concern for our kids going forward. So
Yeah.
that's one of the major issues. I know I'm going to get a lot of backlash because everyone's like, "Oh, you're transphobic." I'm like, no, there's only two genders. You shouldn't be confusing the kids at this early an age. You're really screwed up with their development, and you can see that the mental health of the kids completely plummeted for the past, I'll say, a couple decades at least.
Hey everyone, really happy to announce a new sponsor for the show and for everybody down in Australia, Stockman Steaks, who are delivering high quality grass-fed and finished pasture-raised beef and other meats, flash frozen and vacuum sealed to your door, something that I've been enjoying a lot of myself recently as well. They also have a great range of specialty items such as high-fat keto mince and carnivore beef and organs mince with liver, kidneys, and beef heart as well. So use code Chaffee today for a free order of beef mince or another specialty gift along with your order at stockmansteaks.com.au, and I'll see you over there. Thanks, guys.
Well, the thing is too is that doing it without the parent, not only their consent but their knowledge. I mean that's out of bounds. If you want to raise your kids any way you want, that's your business as long as you're not hurting them. But but taking that say out of the parent's hands, I think that's criminal. You don't get to do that. I mean, there were kids in my class, when I was growing up, that their parents didn't want them to be part of sex ed. They didn't want them doing that. Well, as part of the curriculum. Yeah, well, I don't want that. Fine, okay. So kids got out of that. They had a say. Parents had a say in what happened, and now they're saying no. Parents aren't allowed to do that. At least in certain areas. Some places they do still have a say, but you obviously there are cases where they are sort of doing this without the parents' permission or knowledge, and that's not okay. If the parents are okay with that and they want that to happen, that's one thing. But when you take the choice away from the parent, that's the problem for sure.
No, I think just in general, I'm very outspoken. I don't mind threats, but I think we need myself and a lot of other people too. We need really strong men and women to carry this country forward. And
Mhm.
I don't think we could ever make up for the past, but we need a positive movement forward. So that's what I'm willing to
Mhm.
do.
Yep. Very good. Well, Chris, thank you so much for that. This has been with Chris Brandlin, the carnivore lawyer, who's hopefully
Yes.
going to be the carnivore congressman, and we'll be running in Nevada. What district are you running in?
Third District of Nevada, and you can find all the information on my campaign as well as the meetup if you go to chrisbrandlin.com. So you'll get the spelling of my last name, but and we'll have a link on that for the Las Vegas meetup, and we're just asking people to basically sign up just to get information because I want to make sure I get a good head count because I want to make sure if I have to spend a little extra money because I'm going to make this very affordable because a lot of people are telling me that they don't want to travel to a lot of these function events. They're restricted money.
Mm,
I'm going to make this the most affordable meetup, and I'm actually going to be taking eating most of the funds myself.
taking the
So this,
brunt on that.
yeah,
Yeah,
so I'm going to take it, but I think I'm going to get good karma at the end. So I'm willing to pay a lot of my finances towards it personally to make it better. So
well,
yeah,
that's good. Well, that's what's really appreciated, and I'm definitely happy to help promote that as well. Chris, thank you so much for coming on. It's great to see people like yourself that think that they've got some way that they can help the community and the society, as opposed to just trying to benefit themselves. So really glad to see, and that's the thing you're saying. I mean, you're spending your life savings on this. It's not like you're trying to do this to cash out. You're trying to
no,
do this because you think this is something that is important to do,
my
and
estate
so
value
just
will go
appreciate that.
down. I'll promise that, and I'll substantiate it too.
What will go down? Sorry.
I said my overall estate value, basically
Oh yeah,
your net
right. Yeah,
estate, because
exactly.
I got stocks and all this everything, but I got different investments in different states. But I'm telling you right now, I'm selling them off to pay for this. So I already know it's going to go down, but I feel it's going to be worth it at the end. So that's what I'm praying
Yeah.
for.
Well, well, good for you, man, and good for you for stepping up and trying to make a difference. So we appreciate that. Chris, pleasure to see you again, and good luck in the election. I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
All right, thanks a lot, Anthony.
Thanks, man. And thank you, everyone, for joining. Please do go to Chris's website and join us in Las Vegas for the meetup in July. I will do my best to be there as well. And either way, there'll be a lot of great people there. So thank you all very much, and we'll see you next time. They're explicitly not trying to cure disease. They're explicitly trying to treat symptoms so that you can give them that medication their whole life, because that's what any good drug dealer does. You hook them early, you get them young, and you keep them for the rest of their life. So you get that return, that comeback, and they're addicted, and they have